G'day everyone and welcome to Inside Rugby with Mark. If you haven't been here before, my name is Mark. I'm a retired Kiwi bloke who loves rugby and I'm living here in beautiful Cancun in Mexico. You've just joined me on the pre-game show for the second test between the South African Springboks and the New Zealand All Blacks to be played at Cape Town in South Africa this Saturday. So let's get into the show right now. Now listen, because we've got so many new people joining the channel at the moment, I just want to quickly give you an update on what this is all about. I came out of my beautiful retirement to start this YouTube channel just over a year ago, and I did that because I want to spend time and invest in giving back to the great game of rugby. I want to try and play a small role in helping the game grow across the world just by sharing my passion for the game here on YouTube. And the way that you can help me is, first of all, hit that subscribe button. Over 82% of you come and watch my videos on a regular basis and you haven't hit the subscribe button. So if you're new to the channel and you're just working out what you're going to do, make sure you hit the subscribe button. But here's 5 ways that you can help me on this channel, and I'd be very grateful if you select one or more of those ways to be able to help me play a little role in helping this great game of ours grow across the world. So thank you very much for that. I really appreciate it. Now let's get on to the game, and what a game it's going to be, and what a game it was in Johannesburg. And after all the talk, it seems like it's only just died down now and we're already getting into the next game in Cape Town. So for everybody watching today in beautiful Cape Town, I hope you're well. It's an exciting week in the city this week, I'm sure, and it's going to culminate in that fantastic game on Saturday between the South African Springboks and the New Zealand All Blacks. Now the teams have been announced, and in this pre-game show I'm going to talk about the teams. So I'm going to go through the teams and I'm going to talk a little bit about what we learned from Johannesburg perhaps, and what we could see in this game at the DHL Stadium on Saturday. So let's get right into it, and I'll start off by going through the team for the visitors. That's the New Zealand All Blacks. And wasn't it great to see the reception the All Blacks got at Cape Town Airport when they arrived this week? It was fantastic. A lot of Kiwis over there, but a lot of All Black supporters, All Black fans in South Africa, of course. And it was absolutely fantastic to see that. And on the combination of the South African tours of New Zealand starting again in 2026, this is so exciting. I have to save all my pesos up and see whether I can get down there to South Africa to watch that tour. It's going to be absolutely magnificent. Now the All Blacks have named a changed team, and this is fantastic. And I want to give Scott Razor Robertson a lot of kudos for this, because there's a couple of changes that I've been talking about and a few that you've been talking about as well, and it's great to see those happen, and that's a talking point for this particular video. So let's start off with the All Blacks forwards, front row, and we've got no changes there. So it's Tamaiti Williams, Cody Taylor and Tyrell Lomax starting this game for the All Blacks in the front row. Thought they did really well in Joburg. I thought they had a big game. That Tamaiti Williams, every time he turns up for the All Blacks, he's just going to another level. I feel he's just 24 years old, and by the time we get to the Australian World Cup in 2027, I'm sure he's going to be an absolute gem in that front row for the All Blacks. So no changes when it comes to the front row for the All Blacks. Moving on to the locks, and we've got Scott Barrett again and Tupou Vai. Tupou Vai, I thought, had a really good game, starting to grow on me, this guy. He's a good young lock, and he did a lot of good things at Ellis Park. And he took ownership as well. I heard him doing a few interviews after the game, spoke about his responsibilities in that losing team, and that's maturity of a young man that knows his place in an All Black team. So a lot of kudos to Tupou Vai. Now the changes are coming, and they're coming in the back three for the All Blacks. So we see Wallace Satiti coming in, and a lot of you have put in the comments that you'd like to see Wallace Satiti. So let's give Razor Robertson a pat on the back. He's done this one. And we've got Sam Cane and Ardie Savea as the other two back three players for the All Blacks. I think this is a good combination. I just want to see how they go. Is it my ideal combination? No, probably not. I'd probably like to see Savea on the side and see Wallace Satiti at number 8. But let's see how this goes. I'm very excited that Scott Robertson is experimenting a little bit with this back three. So there we go. That's the starting 8 for the All Blacks. Put in the comments what you think. And has he done enough, Scott, in terms of changes? Because, of course, there's a couple of other players that could be in the fray that haven't been selected for this particular game. So now let's get on to the backs for the All Blacks, and I'm going to go through the benches once I've finished the team. So we'll start off in the backs now, and yes, he's done it. Cortez Ratama is in there at 9, and if you've been watching my videos, you'll know that I've been a big fan of Cortez Ratama starting the game. A lot of you have been putting comments that he's too young and inexperienced to play against the Springboks in South Africa. I disagreed respectfully with those comments, and I thought that he needs to be given an opportunity. We've seen him come off the bench. For me, he doesn't work as a bench player. He's not impactful enough. He's the kind of halfback like an Aaron Smith that needs to start the game, build his rhythm into the game, understand the game flow, and because he's so young, I think that's a better position to be playing him in, not coming off the bench as Robertson has been doing in the past games. So I'm very excited to see Cortez Ratama get his opportunity to start this game against South Africa in Cape Town, and all eyes are going to be on him to see how he goes. Then outside we've got Damien McKenzie, so sticking with him at number 10. And then we've got Jordie Barrett and Rieko Ioane. So those two, in the eyes of a lot of you, played very well last weekend, and we want to see them do it again this weekend. However, for me, we're still lacking that penetration at number 13, and I would have liked to seen Billy Proctor in this team for the All Blacks. But Scott Robertson's decided to give these guys a go again and see how they go. So that's what we've got to look at and see whether or not they can step up. I think if they don't have a good game this weekend, we are going to see changes against Australia in the 12 and 13 jersey. So let's keep an eye on how both Jordie Barrett and Rieko Ioane go in this particular game. And then some changes on the wings for the All Blacks. And again, this is a good thing. This is exactly what I've been asking for. Let's experiment with this All Black team and see how these different combinations go. So we've got Mark Talia and Sevu Reece coming into the All Blacks on the wing this week. Caleb Clark's been playing fantastic rugby. He was brilliant under the high ball at Ellis Park. But I think this is a good move from Scott Robertson. It's giving these guys an opportunity to step up and play against the best rugby team in the world at the moment. And there's no better atmosphere than in South Africa and doing that. And they're not getting that opportunity enough. So I think this is brilliant. So it's up to Mark Talia now and Sevu Reece to show what they've got on the wing position this weekend. And then, as a lot of you have been asking for, Will Jordan is at fullback starting this weekend. I'm not a fan, and the reason I'm not a fan is because this guy has been scoring all of his points as a winger for the All Blacks in the past, and the reason that he's been doing that is because of the distribution he's been getting from his inside. So it's going to be interesting to see whether he can create that space from fullback and whether or not he's going to be safe under the high ball and counter-attacking for the All Blacks. That's something I'm going to really keep my eye on with Will Jordan at fullback. But I know why Razor's doing this, and we'll talk about it in a minute. But there we go. For all those people that wanted Will Jordan at fullback, you got your wish come true. Now we'll see how it goes on Saturday. So there we go. That's the All Blacks starting 15 for the second game. Now let's have a look at their bench. Okay, the All Black bench for this game. Let's have a look at the forwards first of all. And the front row exchange is no different than what we've seen before. So it's Asafo Amor, it's Tuanga Fussy, and it's Fletcher Newell. So let's hope Tuanga Fussy can stay on the field this time. No yellow cards, please. Let's make sure that discipline is in place. And we'll see how these guys have an impact coming in off the bench. And we'll talk about the South Africans bench when I get to their team, because there's something interesting going on right there. And because it's a 5-3 split for the All Blacks, we've got Luke Jacobson and Sam Dowie as the other two bench replacements for the All Blacks in the forwards. I think this is a good move. It's bringing in height and it's bringing in a bit of gusto in the form of Luke Jacobson. So this is exactly what the All Blacks were missing in that first test when it came to impact off the bench. Let's see if it makes the difference in this particular game. Now in the backs, we've got an interesting combination on the bench as well for the All Blacks. We've got TJ Perenara, which is, if he is going to start for the All Blacks, that's where I would like to see him starting. So good work, Scott. You've done a brilliant job on that announcement. And then we've got Anton Leonard-Brown, and we've got Beauden Barrett. And I think that's another masterstroke as well. We've seen what Beauden Barrett can do when he comes off the bench. It's not just his impact, it's the way he reads the game. And I think because he's on the bench, has that time to look at, see what's going on with the game. When he comes on in that leadership position and he goes to fullback, he's able to make the difference. And I think what Scott Robertson is doing in this game also, leaving his options open. If Mackenzie's not having a good game, we might see Beauden Barrett come on at number 10. And that's another option available too. So I think this is a really good move from Scott Robertson. I like it. I think this bench looks a lot better. I would have Anton Leonard-Brown though starting inside Rico Ioane or Billy Proctor, and I would have Geordie Barrett on the bench because I think he can have a bigger impact coming off there as well. Anyway, that's my views on it. That's the All Black team, and I think this is a really good improvement from Scott Robertson over last week's game. He's gone away with his crew and they've really sat down and looked at where South Africa were decisive. They looked at where some of the potential weaknesses were from the All Blacks, and they're giving some of these other guys a go, and that's all I've been yelling out for on this channel, is to experiment and see how it goes. So I'm happy to eat humble pie if it doesn't work, but I think we've got to give them more than one game opportunity, that's for sure. Okay, so now let's move on to the home team, the South African Springboks. A lot of talk around their team this week with Siya Kolisi and also Kurtley Arendse. And of course, injuries are a little bit something that South Africa had to deal with after that first game. But we've seen that Siya Kolisi is going to play in this game. So let's go through the South African team right now. And we'll start off in the forwards, and in the front row, it's Oxenche, it's Bolnami, and it's Frans Malherbe. So there we go, an unchanged front row for the South Africans. And again, I thought the scrums were very competitive in that first game. These guys love going at each other. Let's see how it works out in the second game. Now, if you'd seen my video from yesterday where I talked about the possible teams for South Africa moving forward towards the World Cup, you would have seen in one of those teams that I put Eben Etzebeth and Ruan Nortje together in the locking position, and that's exactly what we've got this weekend in Cape Town. We're going to see Etzebeth and Nortje going up with each other, and I think that's a really good combination. Nortje has got another opportunity, which I think is really, really good. And then looking at the back three for South Africa, and as I picked it as well, we've got Siya Kolisi, we've got Peter Steph de Toy, and we've got Jasper Wiese. So a very good back three for South Africa. It's going to be interesting now that we've got Satiti in there for the All Blacks. How's this going to disrupt the back three competition? It's going to be really interesting to watch this one. So a good forward pack for the South Africans in this game. But I tell you what, I think the All Blacks can match it to start off in this game, and it's going to be really interesting to see how they go in that first 40 minutes. Okay, we'll get to the Springboks bench shortly, but first we'll go through the back line. And again, Rassie's thrown some changes up, and I'm loving this. I'm really, really happy with both coaches this weekend, but because we've got more changes and we've got experimenting going on, and that's what I absolutely love in this period of growth and development between the Rugby World Cups. So the back line for South Africa, we're starting off with Grant Williams at halfback. Yay! I've been asking for this one. So this is going to be really, really interesting to see how it goes. I really like Grant Williams. I know that a lot of you have said, yeah, he's more of an impact player coming off the bench when the opposition is tired, and he can use his speed and he can get around the field. I totally agree with you, but I want to see him on the field for a long period of time, making a difference. They're still going to get tired towards the end of the first half, the All Blacks. So let's see what Grant Williams can do from halfback with those snaking little runs that he does, or sniping little runs that he does, and see how he also connects with his number 10. And his number 10 in this game is going to be Handré Pollard starting off. So yes, we've got Pollard and Williams. Great combination, I think. Going to be interesting to see Handré Pollard's kicking strategy in this game. And I think that's going to be very, very vital to the way that the Springboks go about this game. But they've got to back up on the bench, and I'll talk about that a little bit later on. Then moving out to the centres, we've got that trusty pairing breaking another record of their longevity in the centres for the Springboks. Yes, it's Damien Deolandi and Jesse Creel back at 12 and 13. You know that I like these two guys. They're very, very good in those positions. You always know what you're going to get with them. So I back them every time to deliver for South Africa. And then moving out to the wing, we know we had to have a replacement for Kurtley Arendse, and we've got it in the form of Canan Moodie. Yes, Canan Moodie's coming. Another player that I really, really love, and can't wait to see him go and get his opportunity in Cape Town. On the other wing, of course, it's Cheslin Kolbe, and what can you say about the guy? He's a legend in world rugby, he's a legend in South African rugby, and look for Kolbe to score a try in this game. There you go, that's a tip from me. I reckon he's going to get a try in this game. So fantastic to see those two wingers. And then at fullback, another change, and it's Willie LaRue coming in, so that's brilliant to see as well. Rassie's really ringing in the changes and giving people a different opportunity, but importantly, looking at the different combinations that South Africa can put together against specific teams. So he wants to see how this team goes against the All Blacks versus the team that he had on the field last weekend. Going to be fascinating to watch this one. Springboks bench for this game, starting off in the forwards, and we've got Marks, Steenkamp, Vincent Koch, Lowe and Quagga Smith. So a 5-3 split. This is fascinating for me, and I think this is going to be another really interesting aspect of the game. Okay, let's get on to the backs and have a look at who he selected on the bench. Jaden Hendricks, there's an interesting one. Sasha Feinberg, Ngoma Zulu, and the last one on the bench is Lucano Arm. So a really interesting bench here for South Africa. Now, I think if Pollard is not doing the business in the first half, we're going to see Sasha come on pretty early in this game potentially, and that could be an interesting interchange that Rassie does. Jaden Hendricks is a little bit of an interesting one for me. I would have liked to seen Cobus Reinhardt come on there in that position, or even Vanderberg, give him another opportunity. There's no doubt that I think South Africa is missing Faf de Klerk in the series against the All Blacks. It's shown to me how important Faf de Klerk is at that base of the breakdown and the scrum. He's very good at distribution, he's very good at reading the game, and I think if one player the South Africans have missed the most in this series is Faf de Klerk. Just my opinion on that one. Let me know in the comments what you think about that. So this is a really intriguing bench from the South Africans, and I've got to say, as a Kiwi, and trying to remain as much unbiased as I possibly can, I think the All Blacks have got a little bit of an advantage this weekend. And I say that because I think the All Black bench can really make a difference in this game compared to what we saw last weekend and against this particular South African team. I can see the All Blacks going a little bit longer in this game in terms of energy levels, physicality, but also creativity. And I do think the altitude in Johannesburg played a little bit into what we saw last weekend in that last 20 minutes of the game. So I'm happy to be proved completely wrong again, and I might well be, but I think the All Blacks go into this one with a slight advantage because of the two selections of those teams. I think Rassie going with a 5-3 split, I think having Jaden Hendricks in there, and I think that just bends it a little bit in the way of the All Blacks. I like the fact TJ Perenara is coming off the bench, and we've got Beauden Barrett and Anton Leonard-Brown. If the All Blacks are chasing the game at the end of the game, they've got that experience and that creativity to come on, and that's one of the things that I've been talking about in my videos. Okay, so let's now talk about strategy. What is likely to happen? Well, if you listen to everything that's been going on through the week, and I only listen to the All Blacks coaches because I think they're the ones that are running the show, not the hundreds and thousands of fans around the world, and it's been really interesting to listen to. The All Blacks weren't far off competing and winning that game in Johannesburg. It was the last 20 minutes, we all know that. So I think they need to look at what they were doing well in that game, which they were doing a lot of things well for 50 or 55 minutes, and then South Africa got their momentum back in the game. And that was around some of their decision-making processes. So I think there would have been a lot of focus on that this week in training, making sure that the decisions at the key times of the game are taken properly, and I'm talking mainly around the kicking options. I thought in that last 20 minutes we made some poor decisions. Again, Damian McKenzie and Beauden Barrett were making some poor decisions around the kick options. We weren't keeping the ball in hand. We gave the ball away to South Africa, and they were able to capitalise on that, not only through the bomb squad, but through the ability they've got and the will that they had to come back and win that game. And you can't give a team like South Africa an opportunity like that because they're going to run you down. And that's exactly what we saw in Ellis Park. So the All Blacks need to focus on their accuracy, and they need to keep playing rugby. And we heard that a lot through the week from Razor Robertson as well. We've got to keep playing our game. There's no use trying to manage a 10-point lead as they did at Ellis Park. They didn't have the right players, I feel, on the team for doing that, but also they didn't execute in the way that they needed to go on and win that game. If they'd scored another try, or if they got more penalties on the board and taking those kicks, the game would have been completely different for the All Blacks, and they would have capitalised on what they did in that first 40 or 50 minutes of the game. So let's see if the All Blacks are able to do that. If they are, I think they win this game, and they do it comprehensively. So I think that they can score 4 or 5 tries against this particular South African team, and I think that can really put the South Africans under a lot of pressure. I think that game last week took a lot out of the South African team. We saw a couple of injuries, and we saw a couple of changes in this particular team, and I think it comes down to the physicality we saw last weekend. We talk a lot about the South Africans' physicality, but the All Blacks bring a big game as well. And I think the fact the All Blacks have walked away pretty much injury-free from that game last week, it's a little bit of a telling sign that we did have some kind of an impact on the South Africans. So from the South African side, the changes to me are really interesting. I think the loose forwards is going to be a real battle this week. I think the All Blacks have come to play, and there's going to be some real big challenges there. So let's see how that goes. Is Sia Kolisi really 100% ready to go? That's going to be something else we're going to have to watch, because he could be interchanged fairly early on in this game if he gets a bit of a knock. And let's hope it's a legal one this time. Now, for the rest of the South African team, I really like the fact that Andre Pollard and Grant Williams are there. It's going to be fascinating to see how they go in those positions. And as I said, if things are not going well, don't be surprised if Rassie pulls the ripcord and gets Sasha Feinberg Ngomazulu in there and starts running the game his way. That will be another really fascinating thing to go. And then Willie le Roux at fullback. Let's not forget Willie's craftiness and experience at fullback. He can read a game very, very well. And I think the battle of the 15s is going to be interesting in this game. How is Will Jordan going to go on the All Black side versus how well Willie le Roux is going to go? So keep your eye on that one in this game. I think that's going to be one of the critical positions to watch. Discipline. I talk about it in every video, and it's going to be critical again this weekend. It's been a while since the All Blacks got through a game without a yellow card, and that's a worrying thing for Scott Robertson. So not only Tuanga Fassi, when he comes on, we've got to make sure that the tackles are done right and that the discipline stays in state. And this is one of the things that South Africa really test you out on in a rugby test. They put pressure on you with multiple phases. They get close to your line. They keep doing the pick and go, and they make you tired, and that makes you make decisions that are poor, and you end up getting cards. And that's what we've seen from the All Blacks. So even though they get the pressure put on them, they have to remain disciplined and keep all the players on the field. Otherwise, it's going to give them a disadvantage yet again. So watch out for discipline. Kicking's going to be a big thing in this game. Andre Pollard's in the team for South Africa. How much is he going to kick? Are we going to see box kicks from Grant Williams? That's another thing to keep our eye on. I think Cortez Ratama for the All Blacks is going to do more distribution than he is box kicks. We might see 1 or 2 early in the game just to test the South Africans. But I think for the best part, the All Blacks are going to try and keep the ball in hand this week and play more rugby. And that's exactly what this DNA of this All Black team is about. So let's see if the kicking game falls more on the South African side of things as they try and break up the New Zealand defence, but also putting Will Jordan under pressure at fullback. And I think that's something Rassie and his team will focus on. So expect a lot of those high things from Pollard going to the All Black number 15, and we'll see how Will Jordan handles that. Also, Mark Talia and Sevu Reece on the rings can be a little bit dicey under the high ball. So it could be a strategy that South Africa goes to in the early stages of this game to see whether they can maximise any opportunity from it. I'm super excited about this game. I think there's so much that can and probably will happen. We hope the weather's going to be good. I think the latest report I saw was it's going to be cloudy, but it's going to be okay in Cape Town. And we're going to get some magnificent views of the coastline and beautiful Table Mountain. So again, hello to everyone in Cape Town, everyone in South Africa, everyone in New Zealand that's getting excited, and of course all the other rugby fans around the world that are going to be tuning in for this epic game, the second test match in the Rugby Championship this year between South Africa and New Zealand. Okay, looking at some other areas where I think this is going to be interesting, let's watch the forward battle, particularly when the benches come on. The 5-3 split for South Africa is very interesting for me this weekend. How is that going to impact the game in the second half? Is it going to give the All Blacks an opportunity to keep running the ball at South Africa and not get laid down by this forward interchange? That's going to be a fascinating thing to watch. And the early scrums, are we going to see some dominance from the All Blacks on this occasion? We could well do. Lineouts again, Etzebeth, Nokia and Peter Steph du Toit. Watch out for them. We might see some quick short ones as well from the Springboks, and expect them to play around a little bit with that to make sure they improve in the lineouts. That was a potential area of weakness, I thought, at Ellis Park for the Springboks. On the other hand, I thought the All Blacks did well, and we've got Sam Dowie coming off the bench, which in the second half could be pivotal in terms of getting lineout ball for the All Blacks. So a really good move from Scott Robertson. Look, I'm happy with Scott this weekend because I think he's made some really good changes. Hasn't gone quite far enough for me, but okay, we've got to start somewhere. And he started, I think, in some key positions. So let's see how these players go this weekend, given their opportunity against South Africa. And that's all I've been asking for. It's up to the players now to deliver on whether or not they're good enough to go the distance against the world champions on the weekend. Now, we're all rugby fans, and I don't want you to forget about that other game this weekend between Argentina and Australia. I'll be putting out videos about that as well, so make sure you click one of these opportunities to join me here on Inside Rugby with Mark. I appreciate it very much. To the people that have already contributed through Super Thanks, thank you very much. You're all legends. I really appreciate it. That's the type of support that's going to enable me to make this channel better, but also let me keep going in doing this passion that I have for Inside Rugby with Mark. So thank you all very much for doing that. Don't forget to check out the community page also on the YouTube channel. I post things from there from time to time, and I love your interaction with those things. I'll be putting up the poll for these two games this weekend, so jump on there and put your vote in for who you think's going to win on the community page. And come over and join me on Twitter as well. We've got another growing community on Twitter, or X, it's called X now, and that's a fantastic thing as well. I'm posting all sorts of comments that I don't put on my YouTube channel over there, so that's another area to understand what I'm thinking about this great game and the news and information I'm also sharing as well. I just want to thank you all very much for contributing to my channel. It's not just about watching the videos, it's about the comments, sharing your thoughts and opinions. I love it when you disagree with me and we can have a great backwards and forwards, trying to understand each other's views in a respectful manner, and that's all I ask for on this beautiful channel. So thank you very much for keeping up your part of the deal on that one. Okay, I'll be back again soon with more video as we head into these games this weekend. Get your stuff ready, it's going to be super exciting. If you've got a ticket and you're going along to Cape Town, let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your views and opinions about all of that and how the atmosphere is in Cape Town this weekend. And I'm going to tune in from beautiful Cancun in Mexico. So until next time, stay safe, stay well everyone. I'll see you again really soon here on Inside Rugby with Mark. Thank you for watching the pre-game show, and until next time, it's adios from beautiful Cancun in Mexico. Bye for now everyone.